Yo, man, you hear about what happened in Tyrone in 212, man? Somebody ganked this bike, man.
Oh my god, man.
I think it was that trip on Slip Dude. You know that trip on Slip Dude? He's infamous, man. He took like his girlfriend, somebody stole me, like his girlfriend stole his bike. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, made that nigga go out. Shit.
Bitch, I got a bike, so don't ask me for a ride. Bitch, I got a bike.
Traffic news on KWNK 97.7 FM from NevadaBike.org. Have you been to downtown Reno lately and been stuck at a stoplight, right? And then there's a pedestrian walk sign, and it starts before you get a green light. Yeah, it's a major safety improvement downtown called leading pedestrian interval signal timing. That means a pedestrian can walk, and the walk sign shows up a few seconds before the parallel vehicle green signal. That way, pedestrians are more visible to drivers before the drivers start going, and that means that they're less likely to be killed. It's an internationally recognized safety measure, and now it's here in Reno. Las Vegas has had it for a few years now, too. The Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance has a new annual report coming out soon. Watch your email for it. bikewasho.org is where you can go to sign up for the newsletter, and you can see the annual report there, too, when it's posted. Sierra Trail Works finished a pedestrian bridge across the Steamboat Ditch recently at the top of Tom Cook Trail. Now there's a trail that connects the Belly Sierra Front Trail section too. The Truckee Meadows Trails program has a new home at the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Association, and we'll be announcing a new trail connector soon. The TMCC EPIC program will be offering a Trail Skills Project certification program. It's funded by the Greg Nelson Trust. It's going to teach sustainable trail building and maintenance. A big bike business trade expo is coming March 18th to 19th in Las Vegas. It's called CABDA West Expo. It's in the World Market Center. Here in Reno, if you go to Believe Plaza around sunset on Wednesdays, you're going to see people on really fun lit up bikes. You can ride with them, and it's always free Wednesdays at sunset. This week on Bike Life Radio, we continue our conversation with a local bike documentary filmmaker. He's working on not one, but two bike documentaries. Join us at 5:30 on Sundays, right here on KWNK 97.7 FM. Listen anywhere at kwnkradio.org. That's it for traffic news from NevadaBike.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Ride on. You listen to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We are back with Richard Bednarski this hour of Bike Life Radio. It's actually only 20 to 30 minutes, not an hour, but we're somewhere within the 5:30 hour. So, and I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. And Richard's working on a bike documentary. You have a name for this, and it's about the Biggest Little Bike Network, which is an exciting opportunity for downtown Reno. Do you have a name for this documentary yet?
At this point, I think my working title is just the Biggest Little Bike Network.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really thought about the name yet. I'm kind of waiting to see where the story goes. So I guess that's my working title.
Yeah. When you're thinking about the story, what's in your mind right now? You're doing your interviews, right? Or have you completed those so far? Or
Yeah, I've got most of my interviews done. I'm still trying to find another cyclist to get a different perspective. I'm also going to be in it, so it's going to have a first-person perspective, which I think will be something I've never done, so it'll kind of be a new muscle for me to flex in terms of my storytelling. So I've got most of my interviews done. I've got it scripted out, but it's way too long, and I need to trim it down. And then the way the story's kind of unfolding is just what is the Biggest Little Bike Network, and how did we get here, and where is it going to take cycling in the future, and what is that going to do for Reno? So it's less why ride a bike and more how, I guess. Yeah.
When you've done a bunch of interviews, how many have you done? No, at around,
I think
around
around 4 or 5 so far.
4 or 5?
Yeah, and maybe 1 or 2 more, and then I'm going to do another round of interviews once the project's complete, which will be late 2027.
So this is a really pretty long-term project.
It's a long-term project, but I think the first version, which is going to be more the history and what it is, will come out, I think, this spring, potentially during Bike Month, which is May.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'll take it and kind of continue it and film the construction and get B-roll where I need it, and then try to tweak the story and fine-tune it so that when the project's complete, which is projected to be, I think, late summer, fall of 2027, then I'll go out and interview a lot of the same folks on bikes using the facilities and kind of like close the story with that, some good visuals.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. What were there? Well, tell us a little bit about your part in this. You're doing some first person. So are you riding a bike and talking about it? Did you do it, during the pilot project? How did you do that?
So I guess I'll go back to where I got this idea. So I ride through the corridor.
The downtown corridor.
I ride through, the downtown corridor every day, getting from home to work. And it's 2 networks that are completely unconnected through a very hostile area from the perspective of cyclists, because there's a lot of traffic, and a lot of that traffic is freeway bound. So their mindset is get on the freeway and get up to speed and be gone. So it's a different mindset than someone just driving around town.
Yeah, they're trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. And
so that's what kind of creates this hostile sense for a cyclist. Fortunately, I found a route that gets through pretty minimally without a lot of traffic, and I go early in the morning when there's less traffic. So I was riding this corridor, and then I read about this biggest little bike network last fall, maybe late summer, and I realized that one of the main north-south corridors that's going to connect the UNR to Midtown, where I live, is my route, my commute route, and it's going to become mostly protected. And so I got the idea of it would be really cool to have a video that showcased what it looked like now versus what it looked like when the project was complete. So I rode the entire corridor with a camera on my bike and just filmed it. So I have all this footage, and it's going to be way too much, but it's going to showcase kind of what things look like before and after. And then the goal is to go back when it's done and film it again and kind of do a visual comparison with the story of what is this project, where did it come from, what other projects led to the creation of this, and how is it going to impact cycling in Reno. So that's kind of where that project came from. Nice. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think it did. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio, and we're talking to Richard Bednarski about his documentary about the biggest little bike network, which is supposed to be put in downtown Reno, complete in 2027. You're gonna have a showing of part 1 in May. You're saying? Do you have a place where you're hoping to show it?
So right now, the Sierra Nevada Ally is going to publish the video. So I don't know if I'll show it. I think it'll probably be a 3 to 5.
Should show it somewhere.
I should, maybe I'll talk to the Bike Project and see if they want to do like a viewing.
They have a really big screen at the Reno Public Market, and so you can show it there and promote it that way, and they will promote it as well.
That's a good idea. Definitely, I think for the final version, because that I'm hoping to probably be around 15 minutes. Kind of, I let the story dictate the length. But yeah, so right now, the original idea was to do a 3 or 4 parts video series to publish with Sierra Nevada Ally, which is a local nonprofit online news source that covers civics and community here in Northern Nevada and Northern Sierra Nevadas. But I think we're going to just do one video because the project's kind of spaced out longer than I thought it would be. And I missed an interview in the fall from someone who was traveling, a professor, a researcher on car cyclist interactions. I missed the chance to interview her, so I didn't get that component because I thought that would be a really good kind of foundation for this story. I guess I could Zoom interview her, but so maybe a viewing. That's not a bad idea.
And so when you got all this footage of riding around in downtown, what it was, to be able to show what it's like before and what it's like after, did you come to any conclusions about what it's like right now before they put in this biggest little bike network?
It's definitely fragmented, and I think that everybody knows that. Like the cycling infrastructure in Reno is incredibly fragmented. You have really good stuff here, and then nothing, and then some good stuff, and then nothing. And so I noticed that. And then I noticed that some of the intersections were not that great. And what I mean by that is they're busy, tricky for a cyclist. It's always kind of questionable where the cyclist needs to be in the intersection. Do you wait behind the line of cars, or do you go right up front and be in front so everybody can see you? The intersection's probably the most dangerous location for a cyclist and cars. It's just where most things happen because everyone's going in a different direction. So it's where most accidents happen. And so I think those are two of the biggest things, the fragmentation and that the intersections were kind of, I mean, all intersections in town for cyclists are crazy. There's one protected intersection, and that's 5th and Virginia. And that came out of a previous pilot project.
Yeah, and it's not even really protected. It's like paint with some like
plastic bars.
But yeah, and dots or something in the road. You're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We're talking to Richard Bednarski. He's a bike rider and a filmmaker here in Reno, and he's working on a documentary about the biggest little bike network, which I think is about 6 miles or so of network. At least that's a round figure that I've been using. That is the first part of it will be on the Sierra Nevada Ally, and it's expected to come out in May. As you did your 4 or 5 interviews for this documentary, were you shocked by anything in particular? Did something surprise you in these interviews?
I guess nothing really surprised me kind of out of the blue because I've been following the cycling infrastructure for the past 10 years, and I've liked to think I've been a thorn in the city side about like, hey, let's get more safe cycling infrastructure as a user. But I was impressed at the city of Reno, RTC's kind of approach to safe cycling, and it seems like they're starting to understand that, hey, we need to get more people on more bikes more often to steal a sticker from the bike project. Because they realize that if there's more people on bikes more often, there's going to be less traffic. If there's less traffic, there's less congestion. I think in Reno, if there's less congestion, everybody's just happier. So I think RTC is starting to, or has already clued into, hey, we need more people on bikes, which I thought was really cool. And the project manager for the Biggest Little Bike Project is really into this project and really excited about it. And just interviewing her, I could see that it's a true, genuine excitement to take on this project and figure out how to connect these bike infrastructure pockets and get more people on more bikes.
Yeah. So that's a surprise for you. Why do all these interviews, 4 or 5 interviews with people?
Just to get more of the story and get more information, just to provide the public with as much possible information as that they can have so they can come to their own conclusions. I mean, it's kind of the power of journalism and storytelling is you can gather all this research and then put it together in a way that everybody can understand. And for me, video work is kind of the most creative opportunity for that. And so doing all these interviews, some of them, one interview focused on the history, particularly of the Center Street cycle track project, which failed, and then also focused on the Midtown Virginia Street construction, because that kind of spurred the interest and showcased the necessity for safe cycling infrastructure when that project began about 10 years ago, or 12 years ago at this point. And then I'm hoping to get another cyclist perspective, just to kind of broaden the range of understanding and foundation of information that I can provide in the story.
Is there something that is really special that you're looking forward to beyond just kind of being a part of it yourself? Is there some element that you found really compelling in this that makes Reno unique potentially?
For the Biggest Little Bike Network, the project itself, I think the cycle tracks, the separated bike paths, whatever you want to call them, I'm really excited about that, mostly because the majority of them are going to be on my commute. And so I've looked at it, and I think aside from my neighborhood, 90% of my commute is going to be in a protected cycle path, which for me is great, because that means I don't have to deal with cars, I don't have to deal with doors. Well, I might have to deal with doors, actually, because they'll be adjacent to a parking lane. So I'm really excited about that. And what I also like about that is that corridor is going to go from Holcomb up St. Clair and Lake Street and Evans all the way up to 9th Street, which is the south end of UNR campus. But it connects to a path that then connects to the Wells Audi cycle track, which connects, which goes right to my daughter's school. So what I got really excited about is I could ride my bike with my daughter to her school, and she can start learning. So I'm really excited about that. They are promoting the idea of protected intersections, so there'll be more of those, and bike boxes, which I think are an idea that came over from Europe, which basically allows the bike to be in front of the row of traffic so that every vehicle in the front at the intersection will see the cyclist, and they'll get the right of way. And basically the idea is that the cyclist will get through the intersection before the cars do, so it's safer for them. One more thing I'm really excited about. This is actually a surprise I learned in the interview. There is a bike signal in Sparks on McCarran and a side road, but it's another cycle track that connects Victorian Square to the marina. There's a bike signal there. That was one of the first bike signals in the country.
Wow.
Which I did not know. So the Biggest Little Bike Network is going to introduce a handful more bike signals. And a bike signal is a little thing you push, and it's a light for cyclists. And no cars can go through the intersection. There's a cool illuminated bike. So I'm excited about that because I think that's going to start educating drivers kind of on the side. They're going to see it and be like, oh, it's a cyclist turn. So like just by default, drivers will be aware that they're cyclists because of the light pattern.
You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM. We're talking to Richard Bednarski. He is a filmmaker and are you a journalist as well?
I'm a freelance,
freelance journalist,
multimedia journalist.
And he's working on a documentary about the Biggest Little Bike Network in downtown Reno that's supposed to be put in 2027. And one of the things that I saw over on Court Street in downtown Reno, I think it's Court and Sierra. There was an accident injury there a little while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, with somebody on a scooter, and now there's a delayed signal, so the pedestrians get out to cross the street before the cars can go, which is the first that I've seen that in Reno. Were you aware of that, or have you seen that?
I think I know that intersection, and I've seen that before, but I wasn't aware of it, of the reasoning behind it.
I think that may be one of the first ones in Reno. I have to look into that a little bit more. The documentary is supposed to be out in May this year, or at least part of it, right? And then you're going to do a second part of it and kind of attach that to the first part, and then it'll be longer, right? And your hope is that people will... it's not the how, it's the why, right?
No, it's the other way around.
The other way.
No. It's not the why. 'Cause I feel like everybody knows why to ride a bike. I do address that a little bit, but the focus is like, how do you ride a bike in Reno, and what is there to support you? So the how and the what and the supporting.
Yeah. How do you think that this Biggest Little Bike Network will change downtown?
There's a chance that it might bring people to downtown more often. I think that'll happen. More people will be like, oh, let's go downtown. I can ride my bike there, or I can take a scooter. And they'll go there. So there'll be people there, but I think that's not going to have a lasting effect, or it's going to be countered by the casinos. Because a lot of people in Reno don't go downtown because there's not a lot there. So especially now with businesses closing, you just go there for the casinos. So I'm hoping it'll at least bring people through the corridor more, because they'll be able to get to camp to UNR safely, or come down. Students that live around the university can now will be able to come down to Midtown or downtown safely on their bikes. And then east and west too, you can get easily through downtown. A little easier. So you might see more people roundabout. Virginia Street's supposed to be painted green. The whole, I don't know how much of it.
Wow.
So the idea is that when there's green on the road, bikes are there, and it's very vibrant. And so that's going to be the first phase of the project. So Virginia Street will just be full on green.
Wow.
So maybe there'll be more cyclists using Virginia Street. But there's a lot of intersections on Virginia Street, so I'm curious to see how they do that.
Yeah.
But I think it'll bring more people, but I don't think it'll be noticeable because of the impact the casinos have. And what I mean by that is they'll either go into the casinos, or they won't be downtown because of the casinos. I mean, as a local, I rarely go into the casinos. Right. In fact, I never do unless I'm have a visitor in town, which I think everyone who lives in Reno has that same answer.
Yeah.
But I do go through the corridor a lot because of work, and then the river path's there, which is really nice. So.
Yeah, it's a place to pass through and maybe a place to stop a little bit more in the future. Richard Bednarski, anything that you'd like to add about the Biggest Little Bike Network? One of the things that we do on Bike Life Radio is we tell bike stories. You're a storyteller. Do you have a favorite bike story from your past? Like one that really sticks out in your mind.
The only thing that sticks out are my crashes.
Yeah, that's what usually sticks out
Yeah.
for most people is their accidents or their crashes.
So I guess I don't really have like a particular story that sticks out, but I am starting to think of cycling beyond. I mean, I've always thought of cycling beyond commuting, but in the past few years, I've taken it kind of as the next step in terms of cycling for fun. So now I'll ride my bike a lot more just for the sake of riding my bike. Yeah. And one thing that I'm trying to do more is I love adventure and I love getting outdoors. I don't necessarily like using the fuel to get there, and so I've cultivated a bike. I've created a bike where I can leave from my house and go on a 2 to 4 day adventure. So I'm trying to get more of that in my life, and I'm trying to cultivate more of a sense of bike packing. Yeah. It already exists here in Reno, but I want to do it more, and I want to get more people into it. So
I thought you were going to say that you had a bike rack for your bike. Like you put your bike on your bike, and then you, instead of driving your car with your bike on it in a rack. But no, you're talking about just packing up your bike and going, right?
Yeah, packing up and going. And I've identified a few trips that start from my house and are overnighters going each direction out of town. And so I'm excited about the prospect of adventuring from my porch, I guess would be a way to put it. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Anytime I ride on the bike, anytime I get on the bike, it's awesome because I love riding a bike, and it does all of the good things. It checks all the boxes for me. Yeah. I don't have any like standout story other than just how awesome bikes are. Yeah.
And your future, that you're looking forward to trying something new, all the time on a bike. Richard Bednarski, a bike rider, filmmaker. He's working on a documentary about the Biggest Little Bike Network that's supposed to be put in downtown in 2027, and the first part of the of this documentary should be done in May. It's going to be on the Sierra Nevada Ally website, and so you can look for it there. Thank you for being on Bike Life Radio.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and I can always talk bikes.
You've been listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We're on every Sunday at 5:30. We're from the Nevada Bicycle Coalition, nevadabike.org. We'll see you next week. I'm Kai Plaston. Right on.
That was good. So I'm working on another bike film, too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The Lord, I don't get a citation. Dodge street cars like a running back. Faded through unscathed with my life still intact. Hit the curb, hard but didn't bend or smoke. And then I pedaled until my chain broke. The rest of the day, I felt a little bit nauseous. But most of the time, I'm a little less cautious. Cause I got moves like Hakeem and the Glide. Pizza got a bike, so don't ask me for a ride. Pizza got a bike, so don't ask me for a ride. Pizza got a bike, so don't ask me for a ride. Pizza got a bike, so don't ask me for a ride. I'm bike riding and
Like to sing this, I'd rather hum this. Kick the beat with the help from the drumstick.
Traffic news on KWNK from nevadabike.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. It's critical condition for a 65-year-old bicyclist after he was hit by a driver near Ryland and Locust Street on Monday. The rider wasn't wearing a helmet and suffered major head injuries. There was some victim blaming on local news station social media sites because the rider wasn't wearing a helmet. But riding a bike is not dangerous by itself. What makes it dangerous are all the drivers and cars out there. The Dutch Cycling Embassy pointed that out when they visited Reno a few years ago. None of them wore helmets when riding around, and neither do some of the members of the League of American Bicyclists. The Dutch Cycling Embassy pointed out that driving a car is much more dangerous than riding a bike. But nobody's telling drivers to wear helmets while they drive around in their cars. So why are we telling bike riders to wear helmets? Safety studies have found that people don't ride their bikes to work because they feel like they have to wear a helmet and they don't want to mess up their hair. The solution is for government leaders to make our roads safer so that cyclists can ride around happily without fear of getting killed by drivers. There were 1,600 deadly crashes in Nevada from 2019 to 2023. Almost 500 of them were pedestrians, cyclists, and other vulnerable road users. That's according to the new Strategic Highway Safety Plan from NDOT. A study in that report says the killings of vulnerable road users happen a lot at mid-block and near bus stops. That's because the bus stops are mid-block and pedestrians don't want to walk a long way to a bus stop or a crosswalk to get to the bus. So they take the shorter distance mid-block and risk getting killed by drivers. The Sierra Vista Bike Park Spring Festival is coming on May 3rd from 10 to 4. It's free. There's going to be bike demos, riding clinics, bike and trail vendors, and food and drink trucks too. It's put on by the Biggest Little Trail Stewardship. Speaking of the stewardship, they were awarded $83,000 in a regional transportation planning grant. They're going to expand the Northeast Peavine Trail. The stewardship has plans for 70 miles of trails, and according to Single Tracks magazine, the heir to the Club Calneva, Greg Nelson, gave them $200,000 to expand. Not into mountain biking? Well, Bike Night Reno has a free slow roll ride on Wednesdays starting around sunset. It's at Believe Plaza. See you there. This week on Bike Life Radio, we're talking to a daily bike commuter who has kids. He is also making a couple of documentaries, one about the evolution of bike infrastructure in downtown Reno, from no bike infrastructure to a big protected bike network. That's it for traffic news from NevadaBike.org. Bike Life Radio is on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. Listen anywhere at KWNKradio.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Ride on.
Rap group incorporated, so of course it's hated. Write it, record it, order it, reorder it, the more we make it.
This is not a promise, it's a threat, a cigarette to your balloon. Cue the gossip, rope and tape, I rock the room, say it's a nose job. Isn't she got it, cause she needs somebody. I'm paying dues and red blood and borrowed money. Some me if you can, let me see your brand plan. A low budget production, bandana glamour on a hand cam. Let me sign your poster, strike a poser. Sleeping in my armor while you're sleeping on your host.
It goes get money, waste, rather take.
That's a good question. I don't know. I do everything.
A bike rider.
Yeah, a cyclist, a bike rider. There we go. That works.
A documentary producer.
There we go. Or filmmaker.
A filmmaker.
There we go.
All right. How long have you been making films?
Since grad school, I guess. I got into it, and then we've been made one film. And so I guess 5 years. But that's on one film. But I've done smaller, like, journalistic videos in between. So I don't know if that counts as filmmaking, but
Sure.
they're still videos.
Yeah, why not?
So, yeah.
It's, you're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio from the Nevada Bicycle Coalition, NevadaBike.org. I'm Kai Plascon, right on, and we're talking to Richard Bednarski. Am I saying that right? Bednarski. Richard Bednarski. He's a bike rider and a filmmaker, as you just heard. And you're riding your bike right now. There's snow on the ground out there, and you got some new boots,
Yes.
right? You got them a little while ago, and they look like ski boots a little bit. Are they?
They're actually they're winter cycling boots. So they're clipless, so I can clip into my pedals. They got some pretty gnarly tread on them. They're extremely insulated and very toasty.
Yeah, and you don't like riding inside the gym, you were saying, and so you bought these boots instead.
Yeah, so I bought these with the hopes of maintaining my fitness over the winter. I know a lot of cyclists will switch to a trainer to keep their fitness up during the winter, but I don't want to spend the money on a trainer because they're really expensive. Yeah. Maybe I should have with these boots, but trainer would have been more money anyways. But I don't know. I like the idea of still riding my bike in Reno in the winter. It's sunny most of the time. Yeah. It's dry most of the time. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect condition. It's the perfect time of year to ride a bike year round. Perfect climate for it. So it's just cold. So I bought some insulated boots.
And so how has it worked for you?
It's been great. I think before this past week where we had the snow, I used them maybe 2 or 3 times, cold morning rides, and they've been great. Still breaking them in. They're leather, so I think it'll take another 200 miles or so. But this week they came in really handy because of the snow.
Where'd you get them?
I think I ordered them online at one of the online bike shops. I forget which one.
Winter cycling boots. We're going to talk about winter cycling, I think, a little bit more. It snowed this past week a bunch. Did you try and ride the entire time, or what did you do?
I rode the entire time. I often find, and this might be from my experience, but I find that for me, it's safer to ride a bike when there's 2 to 4 inches of snow on the ground than it is to ride a bike when there's no snow on the ground.
Huh.
And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but the reason being is usually there's delayed starts for the schools, and so there's far less traffic on the roads. And what traffic is out there is sticking to the main routes, and I can just stick to the neighborhood routes where I see no traffic, and I just go really slow and have fun and double my commute time to work, and I rarely see cars. I mean, the only time it is more dangerous is if I hit the brakes or I'm going too fast and I fall. Yeah. But I know now, I've through experience, I know, I rarely use my brakes when there's snow.
Yeah, and so you've got knobby tires, what looks like a gravel bike, pretty big tires on it. And have you had any issues this past week riding in the snow?
No, I did fall once, but it was Friday when everything had melted and frozen again, and it was a little bit icy, and it'll happen. Your tire will just go out from you. I wasn't even going slow or touching the brakes. I might have twitched the wheel at the wrong point, but I do also drop my PSI, so I have as much surface area of tire to the ground as possible. But after the first fall, you kind of get used to it.
Yeah,
and you kind of know when to expect it, so you can pop your leg out.
Yeah. So we're at the Sparks Library now, and you're picking up books. You're kind of out on your bike doing errands in the snow and in the cold and the wet and the ice. You were at Goodwill earlier today, right, Richard? And so how many errands are you doing a day on your bike?
Typically for me, if it's the weekday, it's just a commute to and from work. Sometimes I'll go to the gym beforehand. I go to the gym because they have a sauna, and it's like built-in yoga, and it stretches my muscles. It helps my muscles relax. But if I'm doing errands, I try to combine as much as possible. So if I'm coming to Sparks, I'll work in a few of the same area, or if I'm going elsewhere in Reno. So I try to stack them, much like I would if I was driving. Try to be as efficient as possible. So nice. 2 to 3 today. It's 2. But yeah.
Yeah. We're talking to Richard Bednarski. He's a filmmaker at UNR. And recently you've started to do a documentary about bikes, right? And the Downtown Bicycle Network, is that right? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the documentary itself is kind of exploring what the city of Reno and RTC, Regional Transportation Commission, are calling the biggest little bike network. And it's kind of like a combining of a bunch of his past projects into one big project to kind of make connectivity between all these different bike infrastructure areas throughout town, centered through downtown corridor, kind of connecting all those. And so they're calling it the biggest little bike network because the goal is it's going to create a bigger network than what we have in place today. So the little documentary I'm making is kind of exploring what that is, what is in place, how did the city of Reno get to where they are today on to picking the routes, and what type of cycling infrastructure it's going to be. They're promoting the fact that it's going to be a lot more safe cycling infrastructure, and so I wanted to cover that because there's not a lot of coverage on cycling infrastructure in Reno at all. I also want to raise awareness that cycling is a viable option of transportation, and sometimes better than cars. You can get to places a lot better, and one of the biggest hindrances, I think, for people to ride a bike is safety, and this biggest little bike network is hoping to address the lack of safe cycling infrastructure in Reno.
We're going to take a step back for just a second. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM, Bike Life Radio. I'm Kai Plascon, right on. We're talking to Richard Bednarski. He's a bike rider and a filmmaker here in town, but he's riding his bike in the snow a bunch. One of the things we didn't talk about is you said that You hit a little bit of ice and fell. But how have the bike lanes been? We're here at the Sparks Library. There's a bike path out there on Audi Boulevard. It's not the best design, but it's there. What are you seeing, in terms of the bike paths out there, and are they clear? What's the situation?
So before today, a lot of the bike paths had snow in them, so I just kind of stuck to the main route. I really wanted, and one of the reasons I stuck to kind of the main part of the road is that's where the most traffic was, and kind of rutted out the snow so there was more traction because it exposed the pavement sooner. But coming out today, some of the bike paths are plowed. Yesterday I was riding down 5th Street, and that one is really unfortunate because all of the businesses along the 5th Street corridor will plow their parking lots and dump the snow right in the parking lot or the bike lane. So now we have this beautifully protected bike lane on 5th Street with piles of snow every 50 to 100 feet. And that snow is going to be there for the next 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, depending on how warm it gets. And so it pretty much makes that useless. But coming out here today on Audi, which I chose because I know they have the separated cycle path, the south side completely covered in snow. So I had to stick to the north side, which I usually do anyway because crossing back and forth is kind of treacherous, and it's a big four-lane road. I don't want to deal with the traffic, so usually I'll come up Wells because it's got the nice cycle track, two-way on one side, and I just stick to the north side of the road because I don't want to switch, and then just to switch again. It kind of depends where I'm going. If I was going further east towards Sparks Marina or out there, I would have probably stayed to the left. But between Goodwill and the Sparks Library, I did switch over to the left because I knew I was the south side. Sorry, not the right side, the south side of the track, because I knew I was going to be on that side of the street. I ran into a couple snow patches, but I just slowed down and go through it nice and slow.
Yeah.
So, but there's still some back paths that have snow on them.
Richard Bednarski, a filmmaker here in Reno, he rides his bike full time, all the time, pretty much. Do you have a car?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we have one car, and we have 2 kids, 2 daughters, and about 4 years ago, we came to the point where we needed some sort of other vehicle just to do the logistics. And it was either buy a car or buy a bike. And naturally, I was like, well, let's buy a bike. So I got a cargo bike and have moved my kids around town on that anytime I need to take somewhere with the kids. If I need to go somewhere with the kids, they're on that bike. And so we only have one car, and it's been working. And it's just communication with my wife. We got a plan who's using the car, and predominantly she is because she does the daycare stuff or the busing to school now. And I go to work, but if I'm going anywhere, it's on a bike.
Yeah. And how is that working out for you? Are you saving money? You said you have to communicate. What are the other impacts?
So I would say overall we are saving money. I think on average, AAA says that it's $12,000 to $15,000 a year to own and maintain a car, between depreciation and gas and oil changes and all of that. So if you factor that in, that's $12,000 a year I'm not spending. Which is great because then I can put that towards a bike.
You want to buy another bike?
I am working towards buying and building like a more upright bike that's more ergonomic for my body as I get older. But overall, I mean, we communicate, and like if someone wants to go somewhere, they just talk to my wife and I. We talk to each other, and generally I'm fine to go anywhere in town on a bike. There's really nowhere I can't go. Yeah. I just have to build in the time. But this comes from a place of 15 years of experience. I can just get on a bike and go. It's my preferred mode of transportation in town, just because I can usually get somewhere quicker than I could in a car. What other impacts?
So you say that you can get somewhere quicker than you can in a car. How do you know?
So I know, but I guess this is how I know. I always, whenever I'm out with friends and they're driving and we're going to another place, like we're gonna meet somewhere from point A to point B, I'm like, I'm gonna race you, and I'll get on the bike and I'll zip off, and they'll walk down the street, get in their car, and they'll drive there, and generally I'm there 1 to 2 minutes before they are. And the reason being is I don't have to deal with traffic as much as cars do. I still have to stop at stop signs and stoplights, but I know routes where there's not as much traffic. Cars are generally going to stick to the main routes that can funnel traffic through towns a little quicker. bicyclists don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily work that way for cycling. You can take smaller routes and see no traffic, and you can take a more direct route as well. Sometimes they beat me, but sometimes they don't. And then I have driven to work before, but working at UNR, I don't want to pay for a parking pass. So I park off campus and then I have to walk. So I can get from my front door to my office in 12 minutes on my bike. I can drive that, but then I have to walk 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it saves me time.
You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio, and we're talking to Richard Bednarski, and he's a filmmaker at UNR and working on a bike documentary. We're going to talk about that next week. But this week, we're talking to him just about riding around in town. You said that you've been doing it for 15 years. Is that right? 15 years here in Reno?
Yeah, so I've been in Reno for 23 years almost, and I've ridden my bike that entire time. I moved here for college. I did have a car, but about 16 years ago, I started riding my bike almost everywhere. I've always worked close to my home, so I could either walk or ride my bike. Sometimes I drive, but I would say for a solid 15 years, I've been commuting by bike, not 100% of the time, but the vast majority of the time. Now with kids, it's a little harder because sometimes you got to move kids around, but that's where the cargo bike comes in for me. Or if all four of us are going somewhere, my wife's not going to ride a bike as frequently as me. Yeah. So I definitely have seen a lot of things from the behind the handlebars in Reno.
Yeah. And you've been doing it a long time. So how have you seen it change?
I feel like it's gone up and down. I feel like there's definitely more infrastructure now. Over the past 10 years, the city and RTC have really been pushing for more cycling infrastructure, safe cycling infrastructure. So that is kind of good. That's moving. Things are moving in the right direction there. I would like to see more. There's always places for improvement when it comes to infrastructure, especially when you look at cities like Minneapolis or Portland even, or European cities where it's just natural to have safe cycling infrastructure. But the culture, that's where I think I've seen up and downs. When I first moved here, I feel like the culture, when I say culture, what I mean by that is how people view cyclists viewing cyclists, automobile drivers viewing cyclists, and the general community viewing cyclists. When I first moved here, I would say it was very anti-cyclist, and it was more...
Like what would happen?
I feel like cars would be more aggressive towards me. They would ride closer to me. They'd honk at me more. I fortunately have never had an incident with a car. Yeah. I have had multiple bike incidents, but with myself or with another cyclist. And then I feel like it got better. People were more open to cyclists. There'd be a little bit more like understanding. Oh, there's a cyclist on the road. I'm going to give them more space. Cars go farther out from me when they pass. They start to, whether they know it or not, they're abiding by that 3-foot rule, which is the legal rule, or they're just being courteous. So I've seen that more, but I think it goes in waves. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's worse.
I've noticed that drivers seem to be letting me ride through stop signs, and even in some cases stoplights. They'll see me coming and just decide to stay and wait even though they don't have to, and could force me to stop. But are you seeing that as well?
Actually, I am seeing that. I'm glad you mentioned it, because on the way here I had someone had a stop sign, breach the stop sign before me, and I approached it, and I usually just slow down and try to keep my balance on my bike, and then they're waving me on, but I won't go because I want them to follow the rules. So I'll wave them on. I'd say that happens once a day, actually, on my commute. Wow. And that's where I think the education component comes in, and understanding that bikes have to follow the same rules as automobiles. For the most part. There's a couple caveats to that, but it's the same thing as another car. The right of way, whoever is there first gets to go first. And I think when they see a cyclist, they're just being courteous. So
and like extremely courteous, which is wonderful. To the point where they're encouraging you to break the rules because they know that the rules don't really work for cyclists. So that's interesting that you've seen some kind of waves of this. Which direction do you think it's going now?
It's hard to say. The hopeful side of me says that it's going in a positive. It's trending positive to more awareness and more understanding for cyclists. But then every now and then I'll get someone behind me and they'll honk their horn, or they'll drive really close to me, or they'll yell at me or something. That doesn't happen too frequently, but it happens enough to be like, oh yeah, there's people out there that don't necessarily think cyclists belong on the road. So maybe it is improving in Reno. I would say, yeah, trending. Yeah. But it's hard to say because Reno's experienced like really big growth over the past 5 years. Yeah. A lot of new people come to town. They might not be familiar with cycling because they come from a bigger city where there's cycling, or from small towns where cycling necessarily isn't a thing. So maybe that's contributing to it. But I'm hopeful that cycling in Reno culture will improve.
Yeah. You listen to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We're at the Sparks Library right off of Audi Boulevard that has a great bike path on it, a new bike path. We're talking to Richard Bednarski. He's a bike rider and filmmaker. He's a daily bike rider. He's a commuter, not just a bike rider, but a bike commuter. Takes his kids everywhere on bikes. Been riding in the snow. And again, he's a filmmaker. So next week we're going to talk to him about his documentary that he's working on. But right now we're talking about what it's like to ride in Reno, and you've been doing it for 15 years, so it's changed a little bit, and you've seen the culture kind of change. What do you think needs to happen now?
I think there needs to be an education thing, a component, some sort of campaign that educates drivers about what cyclists can and cannot do and why they do some of the things they do. For example, why a cyclist would come up to an empty four-way stop sign and then just continue through. Like, there's reasons they do it. And I think drivers, if they understood that, then the relationship between drivers and cyclists would improve. On the flip side, cyclists also need to, I think, be more positive or open-minded towards cars. And I kind of adopt the mindset that not everybody driving the car is out there to get me. And I think that helps. It helps me remain positive and react positively when someone gets really upset. I had a colleague the other day tell me he rides his bike to and from campus as well. And he was riding his bike and he was riding into the lane because he was going to make a left-hand turn, and he wears a very bright, reflective jacket by Bike Uprising. I don't know if you know them, but the entire thing is reflective. Yeah. You can't miss them. Yeah. And this lady apparently didn't see him and pulled up behind him and started yelling at him like, I can't see you. And he's like, well, I don't know why you didn't see me. I'm like, and it wasn't even dark, and started cussing at him. Wow. The lady next to him was like, what's her problem? Yeah. And he's like, I don't know. So there's still people out there that just have this negative reaction towards cyclists for whatever reason. Yeah. So I think that needs to be addressed, whatever it is. And whether it's conversation, usually if there's any sort of conflict, more questioning about why there's frustration, that'll help kind of bring some issues to the table. And I think that's when he's at. But it has to come from both sides, and it has to be kind of like a cordial, amicable conversation. And I think that's something that the city of Reno and RTC can help facilitate. And it's one of the reasons why I'm interested in doing storytelling on cycling, because I feel like I can bridge that gap as well.
Yeah. So you'd like to see RTC, City of Reno, Sparks putting together an education campaign for drivers and cyclists. I think, in the case that you're just talking about, where a driver said they didn't see a cyclist and was really upset about it, the way that I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if it's true, is that drivers are scared that they're going to hit a cyclist, and it comes out in the form of anger, and then the cyclists take it as, wow, you're angry at me for being here, and meanwhile and so there's a fundamental misunderstanding between the two when there's this anger that's happening. One of them is scared. I guess they're both kind of scared. The cyclist is scared that they're going to get hit, and the driver's scared that they're going to hit the cyclist, and I don't know the solution to that, other than everybody has a right to be there and keep your eyes out, maybe slowing down a little bit. What do you think is the solution to that? Drivers being scared that they're going to hit somebody.
Yeah. I think, so I've been reading a little bit about cycling from various perspectives, like the culture of cycling. I just read a book about cycling as a form of meditation. I'm in the middle of kind of like an anthropological look, like a book about the anthropology of cycling. And one of the things that I've come across is that everybody chooses how to get from point A to point B. It's a choice we all have. Yeah. People choose to use a car. People choose to use a bike. People choose to walk or take a scooter or use the bus. It's a choice. And I think that is something that we all need to remember, and particularly car drivers, is that the person on the bike has a choice, and they chose to use the bike instead of a car. And it could be for whatever reason. Yeah. That affordability, accessibility, sustainability, fitness, whatever. They chose to use a bike. And the automobile person chose to use a car. So I think remembering that base choice, I think will help kind of put it into perspective that we're all just moving around the city, getting to point A to point B, and we're all the same. We're all equal. It's just how we do it is different. And I think we need to have respect about the other person's choice. Just like a cyclist really doesn't have any grounds to get mad at someone in a big lifted pickup truck getting from point A to point B, because that's their choice, and that's what they want to do. So I think just having that kind of baseline understanding that we all get to choose how we move about the city will help reframe the perspective towards other forms of transportation.
Yeah, fantastic. We've been talking to Richard Bednarski, and he is a filmmaker at UNR. He's working on a documentary about cycling in Reno and the downtown biggest little bike network. We're going to talk to him about that film next week. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio. We're on every Sunday at 5:30. We're from the Nevada Bicycle Coalition, nevadabike.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on.
Some folk will never lose a toe, but then again, some folk will.
You say that hell is human. I say you break it, you buy it, and make the shell toes moving on self-improvement. Quicker than you can sell the movement. Make the circuit smash across the circus act 2000 something moving. Turn out a screw, drive a ghost rider for hire. Tie up the wires, I am the fire supplier of inspired rap. Burn the empire back. It's Doomtree, live through the wiretap.